Good afternoon. My name is Amy Resneski, and I'd like to welcome you to the Yale SOM Women's Online panel. I'm a professor of management and organizations here at the School of Management, where I teach courses related to managing groups and teams and organizations, as well as global virtual teams. My research has mostly to do with how people think about and experience the meaning of their work and the impact that that has on them personally, their well-being, their trajectories through their careers, and the work groups in which they are employed. I do a number of special projects with our Women in Management group, with our admissions department, and several other Dean's initiatives at the school. I'm absolutely delighted to be here and to be joined by such an illustrious group of SOM students who are joining us for today's panel. So I am joined on my left by Abby Martin, by Elaine Zhu, by Zanab Aslam, by Chizon Amici, and by Sasha Castroverde. They will each introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll move into some questions I have for them about their experiences here at the Yale School of Management, and we'll also be taking questions from you in the audience of today's panel. So welcome, and we'll start first with you, Abby.
Hi, I'm Abby Martin. I'm a first-year student here at the School of Management, and I'm also a joint degree student with the School of Forestry and Environmental Studies. I have a background in environmental work, and I'm particularly interested in nonprofit management and in finance and strategy for conservation groups. And this summer, I'm going to work for the Nature Conservancy's finance team in California.
Hi, my name is Elaine Zhu. I'm a second-year MBA here at SOM. I was born and brought up in China, spent 3 years as an auditor at a Big Four firm first, and spent another 4 years in a private equity fund of funds and a private equity firm working as investment associate. I was interested in investment management and corporate finance, so this past summer I was in a venture capital fund of funds in Palo Alto, and after graduation I'll be joining Amazon.
Hi, my name is Zanab. I'm a dual degree candidate with the School of Public Health and the School of Management. And prior to coming to Yale, I was working in investment banking. And after Yale, I will be going into healthcare consulting.
Hi, my name is Chizon. I'm a first-year MBA student here. Prior to SOM, I was I have a chemical engineering background and practiced in that space and worked abroad in Guatemala for a startup doing business development. This summer, I will be working at Citi in the Global Power and Utilities Group because I have an interest in using finance for economic development.
Hi, I'm Sasha. I'm also a first year here at SOM. My background is in fundraising and the arts, and here at SOM, I've gotten interested in marketing and brand management.
Wonderful. So my first question for all of you, and you can sort of take these questions in any sort of order, and we'll move through the ones I have on my list. The first and sort of most obvious question has to do with why you chose Yale SOM.
So I can take that.
Okay.
So I was very interested in healthcare, and I really wanted to find both a public health school as well as a school of management or a business school that were well ranked and had a great reputation, and Yale offered both. Yale also is unique in that it has a 2-year program for the dual degree program. So I was able to do 2 degrees in a matter of 2 years and an additional summer. And beyond that, one of the great things about Yale is that it is truly a very integrated campus. So when I visited, I had in my time here, I've had the opportunity to take part in activities that have allowed me to collaborate with PhD students who are interested in healthcare, law students who are interested in healthcare, med school students who are interested in healthcare, business school students. I mean, undergrads. It's a really unique opportunity to see an issue that I care about from so many different perspectives. So yeah, I thought that was fairly unique.
Great.
Yeah, and I can go next. I'll touch on, there's a lot of reasons why I came to SOM, but I'll touch on the global aspect. With my background in chemical engineering and also working in Guatemala, my interest is potentially working abroad with finance and emerging markets and funding entrepreneurs. And so I thought it was really important to be in a business school that kind of incorporates that and allows you to get exposure to working in global settings, but also learning how business is done in different places. And so here at SOM, there's a lot of different opportunities to engage in the global community. One is with our global network of advanced management, so our partner schools. You're able to study, potentially study abroad there, or do a global network week there where you go and study for a week, and that's something I took advantage of. But then also a lot of our cases, or several of our cases, incorporate some global context as well, and you have access to a lot of resources that's part of this network and just with the connections at Yale. And so it is one of the most distinctively global schools, and it was something that drew me here.
Great. Any other thoughts on this one? So having come to SOM, and what's been helpful is in hearing in your responses some of the things that you were hoping to do to make happen with the MBA. How have you found the learning experience here so far? If you had to characterize it in one word, how might you describe that?
I'm happy to take that one. My word would probably be challenging. It's been a really good, healthy stretch, and I pursued an MBA because I wanted to gain strategy and finance skills. I had in mind a way to apply them, and one of the things that's been really wonderful about being at SOM is the opportunity to start applying some of the skills I'm learning outside of the classroom. I'm a nonprofit board fellow with a local organization, Bike Walk Connecticut, and I was just in a board meeting with them earlier this week, taking some of those skills from the classroom right into their board of directors, helping them with their strategic planning and helping them make a 5-year budget projection. And one of the things that's been really wonderful about SOM is it has been challenging, but it's also been supportive, and I do a lot of my work in small teams. Teamwork is a huge part of the learning experience here, and I found that my peers are really a great resource who help me, and in turn I'm able to help them with things that are less strong on their side.
Great. Thank you.
I guess my word would be diversified, because I was in the investment management. I remember I really wanted to take endowment management, this class, before I came. Well, after I came, I got the opportunity to enroll this class, which was amazing. But at the same time, I also took the course like interpersonal dynamics, which is really helpful, especially for like an introvert for me, because I finally get a chance to really like speak up what I think and to really understand what others think. I think that's really a wonderful experience to have. And also I got the chance to take classes at School of Drama and audit class at the law school. I think that's fascinating learning experience, which I never expected I would have in an MBA program. So I think that's really, I think diversified is really the word.
Great. All right. One of the things that is coming through sort of in the responses so far is it sounds as though many of you have taken advantage of the opportunities we've built in here to the program to take courses and to interact with other parts of the university and other parts of the world through our global network partners and so on. And I'm curious, sort of more locally within SOM, we have a highly diverse community. Many of our students have come here from other countries to study here at the School of Management. And I'm just wondering sort of how have you engaged with the international community here at SOM in your time here?
Yeah, I can take that one. So starting off, during orientation, we have this club fair where you can sign up for clubs that you would be interested in. Nice thing here at SOM is that there's no fee to join a club, and so I signed up for almost all of them. And so that was really great because there's some clubs that have to do with different places. So there's the Japan club, the Korea club. Being on that email list, you can get information about what activities they have going on and what meetings are going on. So that's one avenue that you can do it, but I think it just happens like more organically. With the learning teams that you're put in, you have a diverse group of people, and so on my team I have someone from Singapore, another one from Korea, and then another one from Zimbabwe. And so over the course of the year, you're building these bonds, building these friendships with them, and so that you're able to engage and have conversations about different experiences. But then also I think there's just a lot of opportunities informally in class, or if you're part of any different club. And since there is such a high percentage of students from abroad, I think it's almost 50% or a little bit more, there's always opportunities to engage and have conversations. And I think maybe it happens organically for me because I come from an immigrant family, and so I think it's just natural, but I think there's a lot of opportunities to connect with the international community.
Great.
Yeah, I would just add, I think some of those opportunities include things like Voices, which happens every Monday night, and is, I think, one of the favorite things about SOM for me, where people just go up and for 10 minutes kind of openly speak about whatever they want, like literally whatever they want. And I've heard just remarkable stories about people who have vastly different life experiences than I do, and told in an incredibly candid manner, and I've learned so much from my classmates in that through that platform. Beyond that, there's a number of sort of community inclusion conversations that I've seen happen on campus over my 2 years here. More recently, we have an organization on campus called Prism that's been hosting panels where we'll have a panel of students that have some sort of common denominator to them, and the rest of the students are invited either anonymously or in person to ask literally any questions. I mean, the panel is titled Ask Me Anything, and people literally can ask them anything. And so I think the SOM strives really hard to create an environment that allows for open and candid conversation, which I've really appreciated.
Great.
And I'll also add to that, so SOM talks a lot about the international community, and when I was applying here, it was something that was in my mind, but I wasn't necessarily, it wasn't the primary driver of my application process, but I, particularly after going on the Global Network Week and just having almost been here a year, I've had a lot of time to reflect on it, and it's truly extraordinary when I think back on how much my mind has been widened and my experiences have been broadened by having this international community. Just, it permeates kind of everything about the culture of this school, and it's one of the things that I'm so grateful about this community and it's something I didn't even realize I didn't have in my life, and now I can't even imagine leaving here and not being in an environment where it's such a privilege to have that every day. So I would say that's something that I think is wonderful about SOM.
That's wonderful.
Can I just add one other thing? I'm actually taking a course called End of Globalization, which is a course that's taught across the global network for Yale, for SOM, and to me it's such a fascinating situation where the school saw sort of this anti-globalization sentiment and responded in like real time and created a course that has, super interesting content. We have a stacked speakers list that comes and talks to us about things from like immigration trends to terrorism, and I'm one of, I think, 3 folks from SOM that participates in this course, and everybody else is from around the world in the different network schools, and they're dialing in, telling us about their perspectives on the same sort of on the same kind of trends from Turkey or from South Africa or from Malaysia. It's incredible to kind of be able to leverage the opinions of people around the world in real time around issues that are happening in real time. So that's been really, really fun and exciting.
That's terrific. We have a question from one of our participants today who was interested in following on this discussion, talking about the international fabric of our school, but also the kinds of experiences you get to have. Wants to hear a little bit more about your international experience at SOM. So some of you have taken international trips or with the network, and in particular Global Network Weeks. And so if anyone would like to speak to that.
Yeah, Sasha and I are both at Costa Rica for Global Network Week, but there's several different options that you have. So here you can do an international experience, IE, which results in a 10-day trip to the specific country that it's focused on. And prior to that trip, you have a course once a week where you're meeting with the group and you're planning and preparing to learn more about the country and also the visits or the type of work that you'll be doing once you're there. And then what Sasha and I did was Global Network Week, where you're able to visit one of the schools that are participating. That's part of our Global Network for Advanced Management. And then they have like a week-long curriculum for you where you can visit that business school. There's some excursions, and there's a different theme for each of them. There's also the GSE, which is the Global Social Entrepreneurship course, and so it's a full-on course, and then you are working on essentially a consulting project, and I think this year it was in South Africa, and then during spring break you visit and you have the opportunity to consult and then come back and do further work on that as well. And then there's a number of things. If you don't actually want to travel, there's SNOC, which is a small networking online course, and so you're able to take courses from different schools that are part of the network instead of actually traveling there. And so there's a lot of themes surrounding like global perspectives, and you can take advantage of that. There's also study abroad. So I mean, the list can go on. I'll just start with study abroad, but you can also study for either a quarter or a semester at one of our partner schools.
Yeah, I did IE International Experience. So as Chisholm just said, it's a whole course long, and then you get to go to that country. I went to South Africa for 10 days to do a lot of company visits and to visit the local entrepreneurs, because there are different themes for different IE trips. So our theme was entrepreneurship. So for the whole semester long, we were first briefed with like the demographics of South Africa and some basic understanding of how entrepreneurs work. So we were paired with one of the local entrepreneurs in South Africa. I think they all belong to something like the Y Combinator of South Africa, I guess. So we helped her. She was a little jewelry company, so we were helping her like how to do marketing, how to expand her business. So and we did some conference calls, and in South Africa we actually visited her to understand her business. And it's kind of meaningful because you're feeling something like, oh, I'm doing something like for real. It's not just a project. So I think that's very helpful, and you also get to travel around the different cities in South Africa too.
That's terrific. Thank you. I want to shift a bit with my next question to ask about a community that's not come up yet at SOM, and that is its alumni. And so I'm curious to hear a little bit about what your experiences have been like, how with alumni, how you would characterize our alumni group here at the school.
I'll start off with that one. As a joint degree student, I have access to both the School of Management and School of Forestry, but I would say that one of the great things about the alumni community here is it's really cross Yale. I've had great responses from people, fast responses and really helpful from people who were Yale College undergraduates and that sort of thing. I've been paired with an alumni mentor through a program here at the School of Management, and she helped me think through some of the bigger picture questions about where I want to be in 5 or 10 years, the sorts of things that are hard to have conversations about with peers here just when you're in the midst of everything with school. And another thing that's been great is how many alumni come back to visit. So sometimes the cases that we do for classes are with alumni. We also have frequent visits from alumni who are guest speakers, and there's both virtual connections, as I mentioned earlier, but really strong in-person connections.
And I can touch on a little bit of that as well. I'm part of the Economic Development Club, and me and one of my fellow first-year leaders were leading the New York City Job Truck. And a lot of the companies that we reached out to, we kind of got access to that company through alumni. And so it's either an SOM alum or a Yale undergrad alum or Yale College alum. And so that was great because it's creating new opportunities for my fellow SOM students. I think of the 7 companies that we visited, 5 of them didn't actively recruit here at SOM, and so someone from the Career Development Office visited, came with us on the trek and was able to start creating those relationships. And so once I sent them an email, they were really eager and excited to have us there and engage with them. And so it's always nice. I feel like once you reach out to an alum, they're always open and willing to help. And one other point, depending on what you're recruiting for example, recruiting for investment banking, your first door into that company is through SOM alum. And so you get to know them really well, and they're always like on your side. So it's good.
Yeah, I want to add a bit about recruiting, because I was recruiting for investment management for the past summer, which was very non-routine compared with like investment banking or consulting. So it's really through alumni network because there are not that many job posts out there. So I was also paired with 2 mentors through the alumni mentorship program who have been really helpful. And I also sent out a lot of cold emails and got a lot of great responses, like willing to schedule a 30 minutes talk with me. So I think that's really helpful and encouraging to get people willing to talk to you and to share their experience.
Wonderful. And in mere weeks or months, you'll be part of that illustrious alumni network. So we have a couple of questions that have come in from our participants. And so the next one I want to go to is, for those of you who are pursuing a joint degree, how have you used the career resources at each school?
So I think what's interesting is with the School of Public Health and the School of Management, there's definitely a different focus for the Career Development Center. So that's been really interesting. So for example, the School of Public Health has a real sort of research focus, I find. I was going to say it has a real public health focus, but of course. Like a lot of the job postings there are actually fairly distinct from the job postings at SOM. So things like, project management for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation would be at the public health school, or hospital administration. Those types of posts are more frequently found on the public health side. And then on SOM side, if you're interested in healthcare, I think the jobs tend to be more around do project management for a pharma company or go into healthcare consulting. So there's, I think, some overlap, but they are fairly distinct. And then I would say the alumni are similarly, I think, pursuing some, different things. And so what's nice is I came in a little unsure and got a mentor on both sides, and they were able to give me access to all their contacts and really help me to navigate, which path I wanted to pursue. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful. I'm happy to talk more.
Great.
And I would echo a lot of what she said. Also add that I found a lot of the environmental internships through the School of Management are positions like the one that I'm taking, an MBA position at an environmental organization, whereas at the School of Forestry there are a lot of policy, science, some management positions as well. And although I am taking classes entirely at the School of Management this year, not only has the career office at the School of Forestry been open to me, but there have been resources that I've taken advantage of that are open to anybody with this subject interest who is not a dual degree student. We have the Center for Business and the Environment at Yale, which happens to be the social and administrative hub of the joint degree students, but it also nurtures a wider community that pulls in people who are pursuing degrees only at the School of Management or only at the School of Forestry. And I've been able to tap into some great networking resources there. There are folks I can walk up to who will help me strategize conversations, those sorts of things.
So our next question goes back to the curriculum here. So one of the things that I would say characterizes the Yale School of Management is a student community of people who are drawn from very different backgrounds, professionally, educationally, the kinds of areas or fields they were focused in. And one of the questions that has come in from a participant today speaks to this, which is specifically, how has your experience with the core curriculum or with academics in general, what has that been like? And especially for those of you with non-traditional backgrounds, or perhaps peers, if relevant, who have come here from non-traditional backgrounds.
So I can try to answer some of that. I came in having a background in finance and having a good understanding of corporate finance in particular, and a lot of people a few folks on my learning team had no background in finance, and it was such a good experience for me to take core classes, including things like accounting. One, because you realize that when you work in a field that requires knowledge of corporate finance, some of that is like learn on the job type of an experience, and you realize that there's some gaps in your understanding. So it's always good to have a refresher. But beyond that, it allowed for me to take on a leadership role in that team environment to help my peer come up to speed. And later on, in the core, some of those same peers were helping me get through pieces that I didn't understand or didn't feel comfortable with. And it all, like, to me, that's the very essence of like the collaborative environment and the teamwork that I think Yale is trying to push. That you can step up and you can step back in different situations, and you get practice kind of doing both.
Great. Okay, thank you. Another question sort of back on the topic of career paths and trajectories and recruiting and things like this. So we have a question that's come in from a panelist that I suspect I could answer on your behalf. But your answers to this I think would be very interesting and helpful to the folks who are with us today. And the question is, did you all know what careers you wanted to pursue going into SOM? And I'll say no. But generally speaking, on the part of the student body, I get to have a lot of these conversations with students. There are folks who come in certain, and there are folks who come in thinking they're certain, and there are folks who come in looking to spend this time figuring it out. So the person wants to know, did you all know prior to coming? And then, is it okay to be unsure?
I'd like to start with that. I would say coming in, I had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do, but I think through my experience and talking with people in career development office and alumni and really starting to fine-tune my path, I realized that the end goal that I have I need to take some steps in between. So what I was learning is that you need to be a lot more flexible. I think it was helpful coming in with kind of a good idea, like I want to do development finance, I want to be like in emerging markets, and that helped me kind of focus, because when you're in business school, there's so many opportunities and so many options, and that can sometimes be overwhelming. And so if you have somewhat of an idea of what you're interested in, it can help you say no to some things. But at the same time, you need to be flexible, because I didn't think I would end up doing investment banking, but it's really crucial to get like a finance training before I can do anything like that. And who knows, I may like it. And so I think that going through SOM, I think it was really helpful, and there's a lot of opportunity to be open. You know, it's really good to be open, because then you'll realize, like, you know, actually this is probably a better route, and this is probably not what I want to do. So I think it's good to come in with, it depends on the person, but for me, I think it was helpful to be a little bit focused, because it helped me to say no to some things, but then at the same time open, because I don't know exactly what would be the best fit for me. So I think overall it's been pretty good.
I'd like to jump in and say that I was in a similar position, and what really helped me was figuring out what skills I wanted and then backing out from there. I had certainly articulated a career path for myself as I got ready to apply to business schools. I applied, and as I figured out how I might take advantage of resources here. But taking a step back and trying to understand what skills and competencies I really wanted to focus on gave me an opportunity to rethink some of my preconceptions about what I might do with my summer and what I might do immediately after graduation.
Okay. We have another question that has come in related to career paths and recruitment, and it's a participant who'd like you to discuss the difference between formal and informal recruiting processes.
So I'm right in the middle of some informal recruiting, so I guess I can take this. So formal, I guess we could classify as there's a posting in our online portal here, and the recruiter typically comes to campus, so you're doing everything here, and typically the recruiter knows they want to recruit SOM students, so you're kind of recruiting for a certain number of spots or something to that effect. I don't know if everyone would agree. The more informal recruiting process is usually that an organization has a specific job posting, and it's typically they have one internship as opposed to an internship class and these are less formal programs. They typically find they have a need for a specific project, and sometimes there's a case where you as a student are going after an organization that you have a particular passion for, or there's something that you really want to get out of it, and you're just kind of cold approaching. I'm finding that this latter, these two sort of informal recruiting, because those structures are not there, there's usually not necessarily a relationship between the company and the recruiters in the school. There's a lot of kind of on-the-ground work on your part. So you're out there on LinkedIn, you're finding who you know, you're finding the alums who work there, and it's a lot of networking, for lack of a better word, and reaching out to make those personal connections, and finding out the stories of the people who work there, and selling yourself and what you can do. So I would say, because I've done sort of both sides, they're similar but also very different.
Great.
Yeah, I've done mostly informal in the first year because I really wanted to recruit for investment management, but I did a lot of formal when I recruit for corporate finance in second year. So one thing, I totally echo what you said. So one thing I want to add for informal, we get opportunity to go to other business schools to check their job posts. I'm not sure what's the official name. Is it the reciprocity? Reciprocity. So I find that really helpful because I went to I would name like other business schools to check their posts to find out about more opportunities. And like I talked to a lot of alumni, and in the end I found my summer internship actually through a class of 2016 who knows someone in that firm who need an employee. So that's I would say it's very random, unlike like banking, consulting, it's very structured, formal.
Thank you.
And I'll just add, both of them are, if you look at kind of the demographics of where SOM students go, there's a wide variety of companies. So there's a bunch who are using the formal route and a lot who are using the informal, but they, for the most part, find something. And I think that speaks to kind of the uniqueness of SOM, that everyone's not going to just these 3 or 4 specific companies. There's, I think, of a class of 350, there's probably going to be 200 unique companies. And so that's really cool because having that Yale name as well really helps you get through the door at some company that you've probably wanted to work at since you were 10, but we don't necessarily have a relationship with them. There's still opportunities.
Yeah. I like your word for characterizing that, which is cool. It is, I think in your comments so far, sort of as a group, the incredibly diversified student body, that's one of the ways in which it shows up, has to do with the directions that people take as they come out of here, which are varied and inspiring, I have to say. So thank you for that. I have a question about partners and spouses and families. So some of the students who come here with partners and spouses and families in tow. And I'd love to hear you describe the kinds of resources and community that there is here for partners and spouses and families that you've either directly experienced or that your peers have benefited from.
Well, my partner's not here, so sadly he is not taking advantage of these resources. But he gets the emails, so I'm told that there's definitely a partners club, and it's a great resource for finding housing and having a separate community, or as integrated as possible when the student partners are actually doing school and recruiting a lot. So it's a great. From what I understand, it's a great network to have, to share kind of resources of things to do around New Haven, maybe support system for having a partner in school. A lot of people have children, so kind of babysitting resources, things like that. I know they have a pretty cool book club. So I don't know if anyone has anything else to add. But
I can speak on it as well. I don't have a partner here, but I'm involved with the Welcome Weekend Committee and get to know some of the opportunities we have for partners. And so here at SOM, we try to treat partners as if they're another one of the students here. And so there's opportunities for them to audit classes, get involved, and not only at SOM, but across the Yale campus. And so that's something that they really enjoy. And then there's opportunities for them to work together. Specifically when students are admitted and they have partners, we start reaching out to the partner then. When you guys come for if you're admitted and you come for a welcome weekend, we have activities specifically and panels specifically for partners so that they can engage and understand how they can make the most of their 2 years here as well. And for example, like we have specific like focuses on housing and just understanding how they can connect with the other partners and also with the Yale community now that they're here on campus.
Great. We have another question from a participant who would like to know if there were specific courses or experiences you've had or had in the first year that helped you in your preparation for recruiting or interviewing.
I can start off with that. I found the core finance classes really helpful for building skills. That's sourcing and managing funds, accounting, economics. But actually one of the most helpful courses for me was the organizational behavior classes, beginning of the year, managing groups and teams, and then power and politics early in the year helped me really figure out what I wanted from my time here, and that was a really important way to kick off the year. It also helped lay a good foundation for my learning team, which has been one of the best places to try and sometimes fail with skills. It's a safe environment, but it's also a group of people who challenge me and give me a model for the sorts of teamwork I want to engage in my summer internship.
I think for me, there are two things which are kind of interrelated. I think coming in from a non-healthcare background and trying to move into a healthcare space, what I really wanted was some experience or some exposure to what was available, and I didn't really have a good sense for what was available, to be honest. And so being able to attend the Healthcare Hackathon, which is organized by CBIT and the Med School, being able to participate in case competitions ranging from, competitions sponsored by consulting companies to those sponsored by like pharma companies was really helpful in understanding what kinds of things different individuals are looking at. And then in terms of coursework, what was really impactful was taking the Innovator course. It was such an interesting and different look at how to innovate and how innovation processes work. And one of the things that was really helpful was I was able to connect with the professor for that course and think about a business idea that I had and how I would potentially develop it and how that would become a product that could get launched and tested in the market. And then later on, I took those same learnings with me to my summer internship where, incidentally, the company I was working for was looking at a disruptive innovation and how to launch it in the market. So it was really, really interesting to be able to connect some of those data points for myself.
Great.
And I'll echo some of that I'm finding that the projects that I'm doing outside of the curriculum are a really great way to get experience and then to also build on some of the concepts that you learn or that I'm learning in the core. So doing social impact consulting where I'm working with a startup organization, so I'm getting to build a financial model and a strategic plan. To your point, Abby, about working with the Center for Business and the Environment, I'm doing a consulting project through them, working on a food company, and so just these extra learnings in projects that I'm really interested in and want to do skills, and then also sort of industries that I would like to work in professionally. I think those other projects that you can take advantage of here that are just so rich and they are so plentiful that maybe I've selected too many of them to participate in. I think those have really enhanced my learning as well.
That's terrific. I have one final question for you that's going to sort of take us home, if you will, into the end of our web panel, and that is, if you had advice to give to the folks who are watching about general advice, things you wish you had known, things they should be thinking about but might not be thinking about at this point, I'd love to hear it, and I'm sure they would as well.
Okay, I can start.
Kick it off.
Okay, so one advice that I would give is that realize that going to business school and Forgoing, salary from some company is a big risk. And so if you're going to make that risk and you're coming to this school, be willing to make risk in achieving what you're interested in. So, the way it works here at SOM, there's some specific professions like investment banking or consulting that recruit quite early. And so a lot of people become a bit risk averse when they hear about all these offers that everyone else got, and they're wondering, like, maybe I should have applied for that. But you took such a huge risk to come here. Be willing to kind of see that through and make sure that you're really going for the goal or the reason that you're coming to business school for, and don't let other people's ideas or their passions like sway you, because it's a big risk. So just be willing to make that risk and kind of experience the whole thing.
I think something that I really kind of dragged my feet on during the MBA admissions sort of application process was visiting schools and talking to students, because it's so time consuming, and I have a full-time job, I can't take out another one. But I remember visiting Yale and walking away just with like a very certain gut feeling that I wanted to come and I could see myself here, which was something I did not have when I went to other schools. I think there is a very distinct culture here. And you get that just by talking to people and by physically being here. So if you can, I would say definitely make the effort and just hang out for a little bit around Evans Hall, around the Yale campus, and just chat with people. Everyone's super nice. And just, fit matters. And I think you're going to be here for 2 years, so make sure that it feels like a good fit from the get-go.
I would echo that and say that I was wary of reaching out to current students and recent alumni, and I wish I had done that more often and started doing it earlier. I didn't have to have a blockbuster set of questions prepared to talk with people. Sometimes I felt intimidated reaching out to alumni, and people are always happy to talk about themselves. It's true though. If you ask somebody about their experience, you've already learned a lot. And questions like, what surprised you? What do you like best? What do you see changing? All of those questions are great ways to understand the community. And even if making it here for a visit is a big time or financial commitment for you, you can start having those conversations early by phone, reach out to club leaders, all sorts of ways to find somebody who has a shared background, shared interest.
I'll echo that and also add that one of the things I wish I'd done, there were certainly things professionally that were sparked here so that I couldn't have sort of started researching or gotten on the path before I came here, because they were definitely nurtured here. But one of the things I wish I'd done was starting to have these conversations too about different functions and industries. I did rule some things out before I got here, but I wish that that research, my personal research and reaching out to people had been more robust, because once you start here, it is so fast-paced and there is very little to no time for reflection. And so I think to have some of that done ahead of time will just serve you so well before you get here, and will just make the experience that much better.
Yeah, I totally echo that. And just to add, if you really enroll in the program, so from my personal experience, I would really hope someone like 2 years before told me you should really dive deep in at the very first day. Because for me, I probably hesitated for maybe 1 or 2 weeks before really getting myself 100% involved in the community, because I was shy, I didn't want to talk, I didn't want to. So, but right now, thinking back, I would really wish I start from the very first day and make the best use of the 2 years experience.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so, Sasha, Chisholm, Zanab, Elaine, Abby, thank you all so much for spending your lunch hour with us on this panel. For those of you watching, I can say that these wonderful women, the 5 of them, have kindly agreed to correspond with those of you who may want to write them with a question that you would like to ask of them, given their interests or background or just general perspective on SOM. So thank you very much for that. It's very generous of you. I hope you've learned a lot about our community here and that you'll reach out to either our students or to our admissions group with any additional questions you may have, and that we may all see you here perhaps in a future term. Thank you.